Okay, so the types of liability exposure we're going to be talking about today is you can be subject to criminal and civil liability, disciplinary action by your licensure board. So for the MDs in the room, Board of Medicine, the DOs, the Board of Osteopathic Medicine, malpractice claims, and also third-party liability claims. One other thing, too, is there's also consequences that you're always not aware of from these liability claims that we're going to talk about. Now, there's going to be a lot of slides in my PowerPoint presentation, and I believe it's going to be available to you. Now, I put them in there because I want, especially the ones considering that want to be qualified physicians, to have the requirements that you're going to need to follow. So I'm going to touch on some of those slides, but because of time constraints, I'm not going to go into them in detail because I really want to focus on liability today. But I just want you to be aware of them. So you should all be familiar with the Controlled Substances Act. That's where really our 5 schedules came from. And basically for the schedules, you know that it's based on medicinal value, harm to the patients, and potential for abuse and addiction. Drug schedules 1 to 5, 1 being where marijuana is now, and it's with heroin, quaaludes. The important thing to know is you can't write a prescription for marijuana. You can only write for schedules 2 to 5. So it's still illegal under federal law. It has been legalized in different states for writing certifications or recommendations for medical marijuana. And it's after you determine, based on the state, usually that a patient qualifies under certain statutory medical conditions. So the reason that you can do this is there's a loophole under federal law that really you have a First Amendment right to be able to discuss and recommend to a patient about the use of marijuana. We're just going to focus on Florida. So if you are licensed in other states, you've got to check with those states if they have legalized marijuana for medical use. Each state, there is no national standardization, so each state can be a little different in what medical conditions that they have authorized. Here in Florida, we have the low THC cannabis and medical marijuana. The statute that you really need to be concerned with is Section 381.986, medical use of marijuana. This statute is pretty lengthy, but it does go through all the different requirements for a qualified physician and for the certification. So you have to be what they define as a qualified physician, to authorize for a qualified patient, which they define, and it's for